We're having dark days now. I'm not going to give a long speech. The president spoke for me. The president spoke for America. The president spoke for justice. There's a song that is usually used for some cause, and then it says, like a tree standing by the river, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, Israel. We shall not be moved, America. We shall not move all those in this world who are for justice and fairness and international law. Criminals must be called to account.
Yes, that is very true.
And we tell our Israeli friends that we recognized in 1948, minutes after they announced as a state. And we have not been moved since then, and we will not be moved tomorrow. What the President of the United States said, we are absolutely committed to being with Israel today, tomorrow, and always. This is our duty, and indeed this is the world's duty that set aside a land that Israel had occupied for millennia, and said, this is your place of security, this is your place of sovereignty, this is your place of safety. Let it always be with our help and with our commitment and with our might.
Thank you to all of you for being here today in what is a place, a space of righteousness. We are righteously united against Hamas, against terrorism, against anti-Semitism, wherever it rears its ugly head. And we stand, as all of us have said, in this show of solidarity with the people of Israel, with the Jewish people, the world over. We feel the pain of those that have experienced this tragedy directly. Our hearts go out to all, and many are in this crowd today who are feeling that pain indirectly. There's not a lot that needs to be said.
Direct for everybody.
We are here. We say to the state of Israel, we say to the Israeli people, we say to the Jewish community, we are here, we are with you, we are united in our minds with resolve, we are united in our hearts with pain, we are standing next to you, arms interlocked. Thank you.
Yeah, but what are you going to do about it?
And now we'll be joined by Congressman Glenn Ivey.
Greetings at this moment of crisis. I wanted to say this. Ron was kind enough to take me to Israel at the time of the disengagement. And we flew and we landed. And as we were there, as we were getting off the bus to go to the hotel, I went inside and I saw people being dragged out of their houses. Israelis who lived in Gaza were being removed from that site. And I was shocked at the fact that Israel would take that step in an effort to give Gaza and a step towards peace. And we were told at that time by some of the people who opposed it that Gaza would be used to launch attacks against the nation of Israel. And I'm sad to say that not only did that come true, it came true in the worst possible way that it could. I had a chance to go back to Israel just a few weeks ago, and we were sitting there as a delegation of 10 members of Congress sitting with Mr. Netanyahu and his cabinet, and they were talking about the impact of the Abraham Accords and how this might be a moment where Israel was getting closer and closer and closer to peace in the region. Hamas knew that, and that's why they launched these horrific, despicable attacks last weekend. So I say this, Hamas cannot win. We've got to make sure, absolutely, they must be dismantled, they must be destroyed. The United States stands with you in this effort because we need it to happen too. And beyond that, this is my request. We cannot allow Hamas to be right in derailing the peace effort. Once they're beaten, we continue to move towards peace. We continue with the Abraham Accords. We move towards peace and victory in the region. With your help and your guidance, we'll get there. Thank you, God bless, and stay strong.
And now, Congressman David Trone, who knows a thing about the Abraham Accords, is the co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on the Abraham Accords. Congressman Trone.
Shabbat Shalom. It's good to be here today. It's a tough day for the whole world, frankly. And I really am so proud of what Steny talked about, and that's President Biden, how he stood up for Israel. He made it crystal clear. We're one country. We're united together. And that will not change. I was proud of Secretary Blinken as he traveled to Israel. And his statements were so consistent with the president's message. We will be there. There will be hard times. It will be difficult as the army goes through Gaza. There will be more loss of life. Soldiers and so many innocents will also die. But Hamas is an evil. It is ISIS. It is Taliban. It is no different than we see down the street at the Holocaust Museum. We've seen that at Yad Vashem. We've all seen it. We've all tried to imagine it. Yes, never, never, ever again. Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again. We know that. We know that in our hearts. But it did happen again. And because it did happen, we've got to refocus again. And we've got to be there side by side with Israel as we move forward in these tough days. But the barbarism, the savagery, mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. So the United States, the Congress, will be working in a bipartisan way. It has to be bipartisan. And that will happen for sure.
Yeah, it needs to.
And as a co-chairman of the Abraham Accords, we've got to continue that effort of people-to-people diplomacy. That's how we're going to create a two-state and a lasting solution. But know this, everyone in Congress will be with Israel on, now, and forever, because never again. Thank you.
That's right, USA. We now bring up Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Danny Laskin.
Brothers and sisters, we demand the immediate safe return of all 150 hostages, among them both Israelis and Americans, among others, held captive by Hamas in Gaza today. We place priority on their release and their return to freedom and safety with their families. We will not rest until we get them out. Any harm brought upon them is a war crime and will be punished along with all the murders and assaults committed by rampaging Hamas terrorists in Israel. The IDF has said that the total blockade of food, water, fuel, and medical supplies to Gaza will not end until the hostages are released. They must be released immediately, both for their own safety and for the sake of 2 million civilians in Gaza who have been turned into hostages as well by the lethal criminality and derangement of Hamas. We will not forget the massacre of 260 beautiful young people assassinated at the Nova Music Festival who had come together only to celebrate their love of music and their love of life. We will not forget more than 100 Israelis savagely murdered at the Be'eri kibbutz. We cannot and we will not forget the slaughter of babies, the brutal assaults on Israeli women and girls, the rampant and unprovoked destruction of human life, villages, and homes. America stands side by side and shoulder to shoulder with Israel as it exercises its clear and indisputable right to military self-defense under the rules of international law and its clear and indisputable right to exist as a nation in the community of nations. As a member of Congress and a defender of human rights, democracy, and freedom all over the world, I am determined to see the total destruction of Hamas, a terrorist death cult conceived in the poisonous fusion of Nazi and Islamist ideology. Since its founding in 1987, Hamas has called for the obliteration of Israel and for jihad against the Jewish people. It has circulated the toxic lies of the protocols of the Elders of Zion. It has promoted suicide bombing, terrorism, and it's done everything in its power to sabotage diplomacy, nonviolent conflict resolution, and the promotion of peace and human rights for everyone in the Middle East. Hamas has tried to turn the political conflict between Israelis and Palestinians into a religious holy war between Muslims and Jews, a sinister goal that the world must deny to them, as we must deny to them their goal of endless cycles of violence and bloodshed that will steal precious lives, Israeli and Palestinian, for generations to come. We must reject the effort by Hamas to conflate their vicious, terrorist, anti-Semitic mission with any legitimate political program. My friends, Israel has now formed a unity government, a government of right, left, and center, secular and religious, across all lines of partisan division and political ideology to defend the people and the land of Israel. And I wish we could do the same thing in the House of Representatives. But I know that even without a Speaker of the House and elected leadership, even without the ability to legislate in the face of this maddening political paralysis on the Hill, members of Congress and the American people are united overwhelmingly behind President Joe Biden and the people of Israel in this struggle. President Biden and Secretary Blinken have made it clear that our country will stand unwaveringly behind Israel because we are liberal democracies dedicated to freedom and human rights, bound by the rule of law, committed to the laws of war, and devoted to the progress of human civilization over terrorism. We are nations that oppose terrorism and its paradigm practice, which is the targeting of innocent civilians, including children and babies, for death and destruction for political reasons. As a Jewish American who has traveled many times to Israel, the West Bank, and the region, both in my official capacity and to see my own family and friends and students there. My heart goes out to everyone whose families and friends have been wounded, killed, traumatized, displaced, and touched by this unfolding nightmare in the region. Today we are living with a war thrust upon us by terrorists, but we must pray and work for peace, even as Israel, supported by its allies, wages a war of just self-defense to dismantle the terrorist network of Hamas. My father used to say to us when we were growing up, when everything looks hopeless, you are the hope. Now is the time for all of us here to be the hope, to carry the light even in a time of darkness. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a lot of political chess playing here. It needs to be about Israel and about human life.
What an incredible delegation we have.
Incredible.
Like the President of the United States, full support. I'd also like to note that Congressman
do us right.
Don Beyer of Virginia is here as well, joining us. Now I'd like to bring up Eileen Fillerkorn and Brian Schwab. Eileen Fillerkorn made history as the first Jew and the first woman to be Speaker of the House of Delegates in Virginia. And Brian Schwab is our newly elected Attorney General here in D.C. First Eileen, then Brian. Thank you for joining us.
Wow, what a view. I stand before you as the 56th Speaker of the House, the only Jewish woman to serve as Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates in the over 400-year history. I stand before you as a proud American Jewish woman. I stand before you as a supporter of Israel. Having lived in Israel in 1982 and through countless visits throughout the years to Eretz Yisrael, including 3 visits just the last 2 years, I stand before you with a broken heart. A broken heart for the state of Israel. A broken heart for the people of Israel. A broken heart for the Jewish people, Israelis, Jews, American Jews, and Jews throughout the diaspora. A broken heart for all of the precious lives lost at the hands of terrorists. A broken heart for the families, friends of the hostages, Israeli Americans, and possibly others who are literally reeling in pain, minute by minute, with no word or knowledge of their loved ones' whereabouts. Attending rallies and gatherings and services this week, including being with you all here today, definitely provides some comfort. Comfort in knowing that we are not alone. Comfort confirming what we know, that the Jewish people are resilient. Comfort knowing that Israel is strong. Comfort knowing that we will not let the terrorists win. And comfort knowing that we as Americans continue to stand for democracy, for freedom. Comfort knowing that collectively we stand with the people of Israel as they defend themselves. And comfort knowing that we can continue and will continue to stand in support of Israel. And yes, we stand against hate. We stand against evil. We most definitely stand here today against the terrorist organization of Hamas. And every day since the terrorist attack, We stand together in prayer, in providing strength to the victims, family members, friends, and hostages still in harm's way. We often say, never again. But on October 7th, 2023, never again came again. As expressed in Psalm 133, how good it is to come together and demonstrate solidarity. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Am Yisrael chai! Am Yisrael chai! Am Yisrael chai!
Am Yisrael, hi. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael.